Everyone knows Cerberus, the giant three-headed dog who guards the underworld of Greek legend. But there are a lot of underworlds out there besides Hades. Who picks up the slack? Guardians of the pathways to the underworld of Galatia, Asturia, and Portugal, the Mora Encantata manifest as beautiful and alluring fairies, often found near the entrances to caves. Well, actually, they manifest as many things, being expert shapeshifters. But when a Mora Encantata wants to distract someone, especially mortal men seeking the paths under the earth, the female fairy form is preferred. They are often first seen combing their long, shining hair. Their hair color varies, but in Galatia it's usually red. The Mora Encantata are often described as dangerously seductive, but examples of this sort of behavior are rare. Mostly they promise a great treasure if a passerby can free them from their curse. The curse has something to do with how they became Mora Encantata in the first place. Legend says that they were originally mortal maidens who were tasked with guarding various treasures the fairies left as they retreated to the underground. Now, how the curse can be broken isn't clear, but it is reputed to happen. The reward can be treasure as promised, but if the one who breaks their curse is a man, she can also become mortal and marry him, or she can simply disappear. I suppose it depends on how she feels about the guy. Besides guarding the underworld and promising treasure, it was widely believed that the Mora Encantata also built Neolithic monuments like barrows and standing stones. They were a lot stronger than they looked. There's also some debate over the precise origin and meaning of the name Mora Encantata. While Encantata simply means enchanted, Mora is thought to derive either from the Latin mortis, meaning death, or the Celtic mara, meaning spirit. So either enchanted dead or enchanted spirit. Since the Mora Encantata are believed to be pre-Roman, I'd go with the latter. These charming guardians were also believed to be water spirits in some traditions, closely related to Celtic water nymphs and goddesses. They were just as likely to be found near lakes, springs, wells, and rivers as they were caves, since these were likewise considered paths to the underworld. In this manifestation, however, they often appear as snakes. The name Gwyn translates as white, carrying the meanings of both pure and blessed. He was the son of the god Nuth, and his special job was guardian of the demons of Annwn, the Welsh land of the dead. Keep in mind that Annwn was neither a heaven nor a hell. It was simply where the deceased went to carry on with their lives. According to legend, it was a happy place, filled with dancing, drinking, and feasting. While there were two separate countries in Annwn, and the two kings there were constantly at odds with one another, this did little to keep the partying down. It did, however, make things interesting now and then. The people of Annwn had greater powers than mortals and did occasionally make the trip to the mortal world. For one such instance, I'll include a link to my video regarding the adventures of the Prince of Dyfed and a King of Annwn at the end of this one, so stick around if you can. Regardless, Annwn was a nice place to be, but it did have demons, and that's where Gwyn comes in. His job was not to keep mortals out, but to keep the demons in. Demons being demons, they wanted nothing more than to escape Annwn and wreak havoc above, destroying the mortal world. Gwyn must have been doing a good job for most of his tenure, since there's no account of the devils ever escaping. Still, the state of the world lately does make one wonder if a few might have been slipping through. Maybe Gwyn could do with a bit of help. Tsurutahiko Okami was the Japanese god who guarded Ama no Ukihashi, the floating bridge of heaven that separated Takamagahar, the high plane of heaven, from the mortal world, which of course means, in this case, the underworld it refers to was the earth itself. No mortals got by Tsurutahiko Okami trying to crash heaven. For that matter, not every god made it down to earth. Unless they had orders from on high, Tsurutahiko Okami decided who got to visit the mortal plane. The floating bridge of heaven was first created when the divine husband and wife team Izanaga and Izanami stirred the brine of chaos with their equally divine jeweled spear. The legend is that the drops of chaos that fell from the spear's tip formed the islands we know as Japan today. Thus the bridge was created at the time as a way for the gods to access the earth, and the place where the bridge touched down branched out into roads leading all over the world. Unfortunately, and also according to legend, one day the bridge simply collapsed when the gods were all asleep, putting Sarada Okami out of a job. Kaiming Shao, whose name means enlightened, is a 50-headed hydra who guards the 9 gates on the summit of Kunlun Mountain. These gates are rumored to lead to the Taoist paradise. Possibly another case of the gods wanting to keep out the riffraff, meaning us mortals. If anything does manage to get past the gates, please report back. We'd like to know if the rumor is true. Besides the gods of the gates, Kunlun Mountain was believed to be the home of 9 wells made of jade and a field of wondrous grain. To the north was the jade tree, the pearl tree, the grain tree, the flesh tree, the sweet spring, and the tree of immortality. To the west flew phoenixes. The mountain was also believed to be one of the pillars of the sky which prevented the heavens from crashing down to earth. Probably best for both gods and mortals that this did not happen. In Norse mythology, Modgud was a skeletal or spectral giantess who guarded the bridge Gjallabru, separating the land of the living from the land of the dead. While the bridge appeared to be solidly anchored to either side of the divide, that was an illusion. It was only held up by a single hair, and there was a reason for that. When a no longer living person approached the bridge, Modgud demanded a toll, and the toll was blood. She would cut wherever she needed to cut and then wait until the person had bled out into the Gjöll River below the bridge. Then and only then would they be allowed to cross over. It was only when the deceased had surrendered all vestiges of life and become ghosts that they were light enough to cross the bridge. There were exceptions, but not many. One such exception was the god Hermod in the story of Balder. As Balder had been slain by Loki's treachery and had not fallen in battle, he could not enter Valhalla. So he had crossed Gjallabru and joined the common dead. His mother, Frigg, asked Hermod to bargain with Hel, the goddess of the dead, for his return. Hermod, when challenged by Modgud, stated his business and was allowed to cross, though how he did this without collapsing the bridge is not clear. What is clear, in Norse mythology, even the gods were not immortal. They faced death like the rest of us. If Valhalla is not an option, Modgud is always waiting.